Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear student. I am Mr. Kadeem Khan and I am a lecturer in the Institute of Computing, Quad University of Science and Technology. Today we will take lecture number 11 of the subject of object-oriented analysis and design. And in this lecture we will discuss the topics of the project vision and the scope. This is the discussion agenda. It contains the topics of establishing the project vision and scope documents, then the contents of the vision and scopes, including problem setting and vision of the solution. In the problem statement, we have project background, stakeholders, user risk, and assumptions. While in the vision of the solution, we have vision statement, list of features, scope of the phase release, which is optional, and the features that will not be developed. Establishing the project vision and the scope. Basically, when a project starts, the project manager has a unique role to play. So in this way, when the project starts, it is the time when the scope of the project is defined. So at the start of the project, we define the scope of the project. Basically, the scope means the purpose of the project. So only project manager is equipped to make sure that it has a defined scope. So everyone involved in the project has some input to the scope, but only the project manager is solely dedicated to it. So we discuss in fact the scope of the project in the open meetings, but only the project manager has the authority to accept or reject any sort of the suggestions in the scope. Defining the scope is the most productive things and a project manager can do to get to the project underway. The vision and scope document is the project manager's tool for doing that. So basically, the project manager document the scope of the project using the vision and scope document. Now, what is this vision and scope document? It is in fact a document which contains about the scope and vision of the project. This has the outline like these two outlines here: problem statement and the vision of the solution. The problem statement has the outlines of the project backgrounds, stakeholders, user risk, and assumptions. While the vision of the solution has elements of the vision statement, list of features, scope of phase release, optional, and features that will not be developed. Number one, the project background. This section in fact contains the summary of the project that the project will solve. So basically the background means the summary or very much abstract statement of the project that what the project will do for the end user. It provides the brief history of the problem and an explanation of how the organization justified the decision to build the software to address it. So when the problem is existing and how much is costing of the problem, what are the alternatives methods to resolve these problems, and why the particular organization has decided to build a software to address that problem. So in this section, we should cover the reason that the why the problem exists and why the organization want to solve these problems, and if there are certain previous projects or products, so why the organization needs a new products here. So all these things are in fact defined in the project background. B. Stakeholders. This is a bullet list of all of the stakeholders involved in the project. The stakeholders are those people which are affected by the project. For example, support group manager, senior manager, developers, testers, similarly quality assurance personnel, and similarly the users and the customer as well. So the stakeholders are those people which have direct relations with the project, or they are taking some benefits from the projects. They can also be the advertisement people, for example, those people who will advertise the project, and they can also be the people who will finance the projects. So the needs of each stakeholders are described in a few sentences here. So here all the stakeholders are identified and also the needs of each and every stakeholder is defined. Number C, users. Users are those people who will use the product. So users are very much important stakeholder who will want to use the products to get the primary benefits from the products. For example, those people who will provide the data entry to these products, so they will call the users. However, if there are many users, it usually inefficient to try to name each one. So most importantly, the primary users are identified here. So here we in fact define each and every user, and also we describe the needs of the each and every users in the section C of the project vision and the scope document. So it can be certain such as the support representation or quality editors or website users or the developers or the testers or the maintenance or the project manager, etc. So all the users are identified here and their needs are defined in the bullet list format. Number 1D, risks. Risks are in fact the potential factors that can affect the quality, cost or schedule of the project. So the risk may occur or may not occur, but when it will occur, it can seriously damage the project. So it is in fact generated by the project teams to brainstorm the session. So all risks must be identified through the brainstorming process. So it includes external factors that well could impact the project, issues or problems that could potentially cause the project delays or rises issues. So the risk, in fact, that can delay the project, can cause the project's financial problems, also can affect the quality of the project as well. So there can be some mitigating techniques which can resolve the risk. So all these risks should be identified, and in fact their resolution mechanism should also be defined. Number 1 assumptions. Assumptions, in fact, they are generated during the estimation of the kickoff meeting and should be reviewed, and any non-technical assumption should be copied into this section. So technical assumption are those assumptions which means that all the technical alternative solutions, all the technical, in fact, the technical background of the project, which include design and development background of the project, but it cannot be the scope of the project. It should not be included in the documents because the assumption means that what are the assumed technical help for the development of the project. It estimates results that will still contain a record of these assumptions, but they are not useful for this particular audience. So project manager should hold a brainstorming session with the team to come up with a list of assumptions instead. To a vision statement. The vision statement, it is the second portion of the project vision and scope in which we define the vision of the project. So here we will in fact describes that what project is expecting to accomplish. It should explain what the purpose of the project is. So here we will define the purpose or the objective of the project. So it in fact contains the compelling reason, a solid justification for spending time, money and resources on the project. That means that why are you going to develop the project? So the best time to write the vision statement is after talking to the stakeholder and user and writing down their needs. By this time, a concrete understanding of project should be started to gel. Okay, next one is the list of features. Here, all the features are the functionalities. The main functionalities of the projects are identified, and then we should list down all these features. So the project manager can choose a number of features in a vision and scope document by changing the level of details, the granularity of each feature, and by combining the multiple features into a single one. So the features are sometimes very much small and sometimes they can be very much big. So that's why it is a very useful way to describe the product in about 10 features in the vision and scope documents because it well yields a level of complexity that most project reading it are uncomfortable with it. So that means we should not include more than 10 features in one project vision and scope document. So by this way, we can in fact get the incremental approach to software development. So adding too many features will overwhelm and most readers, and each extra features adds time and efforts to the project and make it very much difficult and realistic to accomplish. So that's why list of features should be very much small and very much short, and also that should be very much realistic. So we can combine some small feature in one big feature so as well, so that we can make it more short. So here we define the list of features that the project should offer. Scope of the phase release, which is optional. So sometimes software projects are released in phases. For example, release in versions are so called the increments. So a version of the software with some subset of features is released first, and then another version, when the previous version is released, another version is released. So this section describes the plan for the phase release. That is the version release. It is much useful because important deadline for software, but developing the entire software project by doing that deadline should be unrealistic. So sometimes we provide version by version. So if the, for example, deadline is not much realistic, then we just release some versions. So most common way to to compromise on this release date is to divide the feature into two or more releases. So we should divide all the features into more releases, and then each and every release should be performed. So by this way, in fact, we can save the time and resources of the developing organization as well. And also the do not wait, customers do not wait for the final product. So hence it saves the time of the customers as well. So that's why the phase release, also called version releasing, is the one of the important section of the project vision and scope, but mostly it is optional because if the it is the first time release, so that's why it should not be included in the project vision and scope document if that increments are released. Features that will not be implemented or developed. So often we have many features which we have already defined a list of features. Sometimes if the features are very much and extra, so then why we will omit all these features, and we will develop this feature later in the next contract. So sometimes we should provide the most important and very much essential features to the customers. If the features are very much large and also they are large in numbers, so then why we have to prioritize all the features, and we have to release only those features which are very much realistic and also very much needed to the user. So to avoid the unrealistic deadline, so we have to remove all those features which are not much necessary. So the reason of this feature should be removed because um, because of the unrealistic deadlines, also because of the budget issues, also because of the quality issue as well. For example, sometimes by adding new components will produce the problem of the budget, quality, cost, and schedule. So that's why we should remove these extra features. So this is especially important during the reviews of the document because it allows everyone to agree on the exclusion of the feature or object to it. Okay, dear student, this is the end of this lecture. If you have any questions, you can drop an email at my ID, that is m.kadim@kust.edu.pk. Also, we have some references of the books. You can read these topics here from these books as well. Thank you very much.